There's a kind of tired that sleep can't touch. You could close your eyes for 8, 10, even 12 hours and still wake up feeling heavy, not in your limbs, but somewhere deeper, somewhere the world can't see. It's like there's an invisible weight strapped to your soul, and no matter how many mornings you restart, you never really feel reset. People ask, what's wrong? What happened? But it's hard to answer when nothing is dramatically broken. Instead, it's tiny, quiet moments that have slowly drained something essential inside you. Not one big storm, but a long, silent rain that you never noticed soaking through your bones. This isn't the kind of exhaustion where your body collapses. It's the kind where your spirit whispers, I can't keep pretending I'm fine. Where your smile becomes armor, your laughter becomes habit, and your answer to every question is, I'm just tired. But the tired isn't physical. It's existence itself feeling heavy. Psychology calls it emotional fatigue, a point where your heart stops fighting not because it's weak, but because it's run out of fuel. When your mind has been trying to hold everything together for far too long, pouring out energy in silence, and receiving almost nothing back in return. From the outside, you look okay. You work, you talk, you show up. You function like a perfectly normal human being. But inside everything feels muted, distant, like you're watching your life through a fogged window. Joy feels foreign. Motivation feels gone. It's like your soul is breathing through a thin straw and every day takes more effort than the last. And by the time you whisper, I'm tired, what you really mean is, I've been holding up worlds you'll never see. All that effort, all that trying, all that silent. Endurance piles up until your heart feels like a worn-out engine, running on fumes, still moving, and but barely. Because this isn't just exhaustion, it's life weighing too loudly, and peace feeling too far away. And if you've ever felt that kind of heaviness, that quiet ache in your chest that no amount of rest touches, stay with me. Now we begin to understand why your soul feels tired, not just your body. They say tired people just need rest, but this isn't that kind of tired. This isn't solved by pillows or vacations or sleeping in on Sunday. Because when the ache sits inside your mind, rest becomes something you can't access even when you're trying. You wake up and your body moves, but your soul lingers behind, slow and reluctant, like it's asking, do we really have to do this again? Not because life is unbearable, but because life has become numbing. You're not sinking, you're floating. Not drowning, just drifting. And somehow drifting feels even scarier, because at least drowning feels real. See, when your emotional energy drains faster than it refills, your brain starts shifting into survival mode. Not dramatic survival and quiet survival. The kind where you show up, do the tasks, answer messages, nod when people talk. But inside, you're fading into the background of your own life. Psychologists describe it as emotional depletion, when your mind is too tired to react, too worn to resist, too drained to feel excitement. And what most people don't realize is that this isn't just psychological, it's biological. A stressed brain rewires itself. What once sparked joy starts to feel faint, distant. Dopamine, the fuel for motivation, curiosity, meaning, begins to dim. The world doesn't go black. It just loses its color. You still laugh, but it's soft, automatic, empty on the inside. You still smile, but it's more about comfort for others than truth for yourself. You still try, but the trying feels heavier than it ever used to be. And yet people assume you're fine, because tired souls don't collapse dramatically. They fade quietly. They hold everyone else together. They keep peace. They carry burdens. They give until there's nothing left. And then they give a little more because that's who they've always been. They don't break loudly. They break in whispers. Not because they're weak, but because they spent too long being strong in silence. And if you've ever whispered, I'm fine, while feeling empty inside, why that quiet exhaustion has nothing to do with weakness, and everything to do with how deeply you care. There's a particular ache carried by those who always manage, the ones who keep showing up, who keep holding others when they're collapsing inside themselves. People assume strength comes easily to you, when in truth, strength became your habit because you never felt safe to fall apart. You've learned how to navigate chaos, how to soothe storms that weren't yours, how to smile when your insides were trembling. And for so long you believed that if you could just keep everything running smoothly, maybe, just maybe, life would finally stop demanding so much from you. But survival mode is a cruel teacher. It tells you to keep going, keep helping, keep being the solid one. Even when your own heart whispers, I'm tired. And that's the thing no one sees. Most emotionally exhausted people aren't quitters. They're fighters who have been fighting battles in silence for too long. They didn't choose resilience, it was required. Responsibility found them early. Expectation learned their name. And rest? Rest always felt like something other people were allowed to have. It's strange, isn't it? We live in a world that worships doing, not being, where productivity is praised louder than peace, where your worth often feels tied to how much you can carry without crumbling. Slow down, they say. But when you do, guilt creeps in. A soft voice in your mind whispers, you haven't earned rest yet. You should be doing more. And so you keep pushing, even when every part of you is begging for stillness. But here's the truth most never acknowledge. You don't feel tired because you failed. You feel tired because you've been trying. For too long, too quietly, too intensely. This exhaustion isn't laziness. It's the echo of effort that went unrecognized. It's the cost of being someone who always gave more than they ever received. Your struggle is not incompetence. It's evidence of how deeply you've cared, how much you've carried, how long you've endured things others never even noticed. And if you've ever felt guilty for needing rest, you will understand why your mind confuses peace with danger, and why your exhaustion is a sign of strength, not failure. There comes a moment when the body no longer whispers, it warns. Not through pain, but through absence. Absence of motivation, of excitement, of interest in things that once lit you from the inside. It's not sadness.
Not exactly.
It's the hollow in between, a quiet numbness where joy used to live. Psychologists call it anhedonia, a state where pleasure feels out of reach, not because life is bad, but because your mind has spent too long guarding itself from disappointment. Your brain learns patterns, and after enough letdowns, enough pressure, enough days where you pretend you're okay just to function, it shifts into safety mode. Instead of chasing happiness, it shields you from hope. Because hope has hurt before. People think withdrawal means you don't care. But the truth? You care deeply. So deeply that your nervous system burns out from feeling too much. So you start stepping back. Not because you don't love people, but because conversation feels heavy. Not because you don't want connection, but because connection demands energy you no longer have. Even small talk feels like lifting a mountain. Plans get canceled. Messages go unanswered. Life becomes quieter, not out of avoidance but out of necessity. Solitude stops being loneliness and becomes shelter. And it's not because you want to disappear. It's because your mind is trying to protect you from one more demand, one more emotional pull, one more moment of pretending you can hold it all. You stop seeking joy because joy feels unpredictable. You stop chasing meaning because meaning feels exhausting. You just pause, not by choice but by exhaustion so deep even breathing feels like effort some days. But here is the truth hidden inside that stillness. You are not giving up. You are recovering. You're taking refuge in silence because you've spent too many years being loud for everyone but yourself. Sometimes the soul chooses quiet to survive the noise. We will explore the turning point, the moment when exhaustion stops being a burden and begins whispering a message. Something in your life is begging to change. There's a quiet moment, a fragile, trembling one, where the exhaustion stops feeling like collapse and starts feeling like a signal. Not a scream, but a soft nudge from somewhere deep inside saying, something here no longer fits. You don't hate life, you just feel misaligned with the version you've been living. It's a strange kind of awakening because at first it feels like loss. Loss of interest, loss of drive, loss of the person you thought you were supposed to be. But beneath that, there's a whisper of truth. A recognition that what once kept you alive, the pushing, the performing, the striving, is no longer what your soul needs to feel alive. The world taught you to associate worth with effort, to earn your place, to stay busy, to perform strength even when your heart trembled under the weight. But exhaustion, real deep exhaustion, has a way of stripping illusions. It peels away the noise, the expectations, the masks you wore so long you forgot they were masks. You start noticing things you once ignored. The way certain environments drain you, the way certain habits numb you instead of healing you, the way you've been moving not from passion but from survival. And slowly the question shifts from, why am I so tired? To, what am I tired of? That shift is powerful. Because it's not despair, it's clarity forming. It means some part of you still believes in something better, something truer, something softer than constant endurance. This isn't the end of your strength. It's the moment you realize strength isn't supposed to hurt all the time. Your exhaustion isn't failure. It's an invitation. A quiet pull towards something more honest. Peace instead of pressure, meaning instead of motion. Presence instead of pretending. And though you might not know what comes next, trust this much. The part of you that feels tired is the part of you ready to become real again. Now we'll explore how this exhaustion becomes transformation, and why the next chapter begins not with movement, but with honesty and permission to rest. Healing never begins with speed. It doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt or a sudden miracle. It appears quietly, disguised as honesty. The moment you finally whisper to yourself, "I'm exhausted, and I don't have to pretend anymore." That honesty isn't weakness, it's release. A surrender not to defeat but to truth. You stop trying to outrun your own emotions. You stop forcing yourself to stay strong for everyone else. And instead, you breathe. Not the shallow kind you do while surviving, but the slow, shaky kind that feels like the first real breath you've taken in years. And then something shifts. Not everything at once, no. More like small sparks returning to a dark room. A little awareness here, a little permission there. You start asking new questions. What if rest isn't laziness? What if stillness is allowed? What if I don't have to earn my right to breathe slowly? The world taught you to push. Your heart is teaching you to pause. And in that pause, you begin to see pieces of yourself you forgot existed. The child who found magic in simple things. The dreamer who once believed in wonder. The part of you that didn't measure life by productivity or perfection. This is where the return begins. Not in action, but in softness. Not in proving, but in accepting. You realize life isn't just about enduring, it's about feeling. And you're relearning how to feel, one slow breath at a time. No one warns you that healing feels uncomfortable at first, because slowing down means facing what you've been running from. Rest means hearing your thoughts instead of drowning them in noise. Peace means meeting parts of yourself you abandoned long ago. But that discomfort? It's growth waking up. It's your soul stretching after being curled in survival for too long. And in that gentle unfolding, you discover something profound. You never lost your strength. You simply stopped needing to fight everything alone. We dive deeper into the moment where meaning begins to return. Not loudly, but like a quiet sunrise slowly lighting your inner world again. Meaning doesn't rush back. It arrives like dawn, slowly, carefully, softly lighting corners of you that have lived in shadow too long. It begins in the smallest ways. A moment of laughter that feels genuine. A quiet morning where your chest feels just a little lighter. A breath that doesn't hurt to take. Not joy, not yet, but a hint of curiosity. A question whispered from somewhere deep inside. What if there is still something here for me? That question is hope disguised as thought. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like a heartbeat returning after silence. Your energy doesn't explode back all at once. It trickles. It returns in drops. One gentle moment at a time, and slowly, you begin to notice things again. The warmth and sunlight, how music sits in your chest differently now. The comfort in a simple conversation. The way quiet moments don't feel empty. They feel safe. This isn't happiness. It's something more sacred. Reconnection. You start remembering what your soul used to love. Before the world convinced you to survive more than you lived. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's sitting in nature doing absolutely nothing at all. Tiny sparks. Things you once brushed off as trivial, begin to feel like lifelines again. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because for the first time in a long time, you aren't forcing yourself through it. You are allowing yourself to simply exist, gently, without pressure, without performance. Purpose doesn't appear like a grand revelation. It creeps in quietly, patiently rebuilding your connection to the world. And somewhere deep within you, a truth begins to form. You're not tired because life has no meaning. You're tired because you're rediscovering the meaning that truly belongs to you, not the one the world demanded you follow. This is not just recovery. It's rebirth in slow motion. We explore what happens next when you begin choosing what nourishes you and gently release the parts of life that no longer fit your soul. Healing isn't just about adding what feels good. It's also about letting go of what quietly suffocates you, not in one grand dramatic moment, but in small choices that whisper, "I deserve gentleness." You start noticing what drains you. People who take more than they give. Routines that numb instead of nourish. Dreams that were never really yours. Just expectations wrapped in pretty language. And slowly, so slowly, you give yourself permission to step back. Not out of bitterness, but out of understanding. You cannot heal in the same space that taught your soul to hold its breath. Soft piano echoes. For the first time, you stop asking, "What do they need from me?" and begin asking, "What do I need to feel alive?" There is guilt at first. Of course there is. You've spent years believing your worth was tied to how much you could carry for others. Saying no feels rebellious. Rest feels almost sinful. Allowing peace feels like breaking a rule the world carved into you. But slowly you learn. Every time you choose quiet over chaos, your nervous system exhales just a little more. Every time you choose presence over performance, your heart remembers how to beat for itself. Every time you choose boundaries instead of burnout, you reclaim pieces of yourself you forgot belonged to you. It isn't selfishness. It's survival evolving into self-respect. And something unexpected happens. When you stop betraying yourself to please others, life starts to feel less like endurance and more like belonging, because you are no longer shrinking to fit rooms that were never built to hold your truth. You begin choosing things not because they look right from the outside, but because they feel right on the inside. This is where your soul starts steering, quietly, confidently, softly, and the world around you begins to shift. Not because it changed, but because you did. We step into the deeper awakening, the moment you discover that peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the presence of alignment. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or applause. It doesn't scream, "Look at me, everything is fixed now." No, peace is quieter than that. It slips in when you stop forcing life to make sense, when you stop chasing what isn't meant for you, when you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them instead. There comes a moment, subtle but undeniable, where your soul exhales. You realize pain still exists. Challenges still happen. Life still throws storms your way. But you no longer collapse every time thunder hits. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being afraid of falling apart. You learned that broken doesn't mean finished. And healing doesn't mean perfect. It means in process. You begin to feel grounded, not because life suddenly became gentle, but because you became gentle with yourself. You don't chase validation like oxygen anymore. You don't cling to people out of fear. You don't silence your needs to be loved. Instead, you breathe. You pause. You choose with intention. Peace, you learn, isn't the world calming down. It's you calming enough to move through chaos without losing yourself. And in that quiet realization, you feel a strange kind of power. Not dominance, not control, but inner steadiness. A knowing, a calm fire, a softness that doesn't break. You no longer apologize for healing at your own pace. You no longer rush to fix every emotion. You simply hold space for yourself, the way you once wished someone else would. This is alignment. When your life stops being a battlefield and becomes a journey again, you don't need to prove who you are. You don't need to outrun your past. You simply walk forward, aware, awake, present, becoming who you were always meant to be, before the world taught you otherwise. Now we step into the final phase, where healing turns into wholeness. And you learn not just to survive, but to truly live again. Healing doesn't end with a celebration. There's no ribbon at the finish line, no dramatic moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Instead, it feels like returning home, not to a place, but to yourself. You wake up one day and realize you aren't bracing for impact anymore. You aren't waiting for life to collapse. You're not surviving out of instinct. You're living out of intention. And it hits you gently. This is what peace feels like when it stays. Not constant happiness, but steadiness, warmth. A quiet confidence that whispers, "I can handle what comes." You notice how far you've come. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You learned how to sit with pain without drowning in it. You learned to rest without guilt, to feel without fear, to speak without shrinking. You learned that strength was never the absence of breaking. It was the courage to rebuild. Now life doesn't rush you. You don't force chapters open or cling to chapters that have ended. You let things go with grace. You welcome new beginnings with a quiet heart and steady hands. You understand now. Healing was never about becoming someone new. It was about remembering who you were before the world dimmed your light. And maybe you still feel tender. Maybe you still have days where heaviness returns. That's okay. Healing doesn't erase humanity. It honors it. Because now you know, even when darkness visits, you hold the dawn inside you. You are not the ache anymore. You are the afterglow, the quiet strength, the steady breath, the soft flame that survived the storm and learned how to warm the world instead of burning to survive it. You didn't just heal, you returned to yourself.